welcome back to what's this called? Are you still talking? I believe this is episode 3 now. Which, although for most of you, this will probably be the first you've ever heard of this, because I have not come back to this, and I've literally just looked on the channel for over a year. So that's commitment, right? Trying to be consistent, and so yeah, I just thought it's been enough time that a lot of things have happened, in my life and obviously in the world. But we're not really going to talk about that. I'm just going to talk about what's going on with me. So yeah, last time I left you, I would have been starting my second year at university. I can't remember what I was working on. Some insane project, I imagine, that came to fruition, but not in the way I probably would have hoped. That seems to be how most of my films go now, especially when they're sort of quite direct and precise. Rarely do they end up being what I first saw. Which is why now I tend to stick to kind of more surreal, very dreamlike, experimental films that you can plan for, but it's best to have it kind of quite loose and candid. I've been, you may have seen on my channel, the last big film I'll get onto, but the two before that were two. They were shot on I purchased a Super 8 camera after sort of. Oh no, we're still rolling. Yeah, so I tried out my mate's Super 8 camera, so I thought I'd buy one. They were quite cheap, for what it is. The film's really expensive, and the actual processing of the film is quite expensive. You have to send it to like a company in London, but it's very high quality. I actually did try developing my own, as like a test. A tutor brought in one of his old reels that he had like in an attic, and he said he'd let me see what happened on that. It's his loss. Didn't really go to plan. Yeah, no, nothing came. So I thought, as I was being marked on the film I was creating, I thought best not to risk it really, and just bite the bullet and pay whatever it was, £50, get it developed. And but yeah, so that's kind of what I've been like my focus was on at that period in time, which is why I've not really come back to this yet. I don't feel like I've really needed to, but as I said, I feel like now not that I just feel like enough has happened to kind of reflect on, if anything. So yeah, so a year later, pretty much, I'm now doing my third year at university, and it's quite a unique situation. I'm not sure how many people studying kind of. I hazard a guess it wouldn't be a lot. But basically, where I studied the first 2 years, it was a foundation degree in film and photography at the University Centre South Devon, which is a partner institution of Plymouth University. So yeah, so you do the first 2 years there, and then you can either just walk away with a foundation degree, which quite a few people do. It's not quite as significant as a full bachelor's, but I don't think you could apply for a master's with it, but it's still a qualification. Foundation degree, that doesn't necessarily mean the work was easier. It was still pretty academic for a film course. Harvard referencing, essays, presentations. I think the foundation bit just is simply to do with the fact that it's only 2 years compared to 3 or 4 years, which a typical degree would be. Although I believe my brother, who studies performing arts in London. His the year he just did, which was his first year, they call that a foundation year, and I think that's just kind of like getting you. It's sort of like the basic bit. So it's like you do a year foundation and 3 years. So he's technically started the course now, I guess, even though it sounds pretty hard graft the first year. Um, so sort of yeah, that's kind of another reason I haven't been back is because my mind from sort of January was sort of preoccupied with trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Well, this year, third year of academic study. Did I want to just go to Plymouth? Which the university kind of recommends, because I think it kind of it puts something on their system that says, oh, so and so student, they went to go on to Plymouth, which makes Plymouth and South Devon look good. Which is fine. It's a business. They get a certain amount of money per student. Or had the option to you could go apply for other universities that put on a similar degree, or you could just walk. I don't think that walking out with a film qualification down, especially where I am in the southwest of England, the film industry in terms of opportunities, they're not that high, unless you're thinking of being self-employed, which there's a lot of money in that, sort of advertising, which I have kind of dipped my toe into, but it's not where my passion is. I like to, the sort of classical sense of filmmaking with a budget and a big, well, not necessarily a big production, but narrative driven, or not even narrative actually, but not non-commercial filmmaking essentially, which lends itself more to pitching your idea if you're a scriptwriter, or you're getting with a scriptwriter or a producer, or if you want to kind of work your way up working for a production company. All things that I'm still learning about. So I thought, and I'd kind of visited my brother in London a number of times in his studies. He lives in Ealing, and the university he studies at is literally across the road from the Met Film School, which is kind of Ealing Studios pretty much, which is I believe it's the oldest film studio in the world, which is insane. But yeah, the Met Film School, I had very good things about it, and I'd always, my tutors always said, yeah, Dom, you could go there, and I'd always kind of loved the idea of going to like a proper film school. So sort of while I was still studying and sort of writing my final major project for last year, I had to do the whole like UCAS process obviously again, because I wasn't just carry on doing a third year. I had to pretend that I was basically a new student, but state that I wanted to study the third year. So I applied to 5 different universities. Three of which I was interested in. The other 2, not so. 2 of them were in London. One of them was in Brighton. One of them was Met Film School. Another, the one in Brighton was a film school. The second one in London, which was I believe sort of central to east sort of side of London. That wasn't a film school, but it had high praises for its film production course. It was kind of I guess an art academy, I guess. So I had interviews for all 5, and I obviously stated in the interview that I was looking to study in the third year. Most of them were okay with that. One of them said I'd have to do the second year again, which would be financially insane, because it'd be another 10 grand nearly, and why repeat a year I've already done. And I wasn't, so I kind of ruled that out early on. Luckily that wasn't one of the 3 sort of main ones that I wanted to apply for. That was um, you get 5 choices, and I thought, well, I might as well just use all 5. So yeah. A few of them were kind of like, well, that's kind of a tall order. You asking us, you want to do the 3rd year when we don't even know you, and like we don't even know what you're like. But they still accepted anyway. And then I think it was Brighton. They had like an actual designated top up course. So you do a year. So that was really kind of exciting. Like, oh, okay, so and also joining the 3rd year, I won't know anyone, so it's kind of weird. They've the people there, they've had 2 maybe 3 years getting to know each other, and I'm joining in the new guy. Yeah, it's kind of what I'd have to like start all over again, and especially moving out of Devon. I know everyone I know is down here pretty much, so it'd be strange, but I was still open to it. So yeah, Brighton was looking pretty good. But my first choice was really going to be Met Film School because it's Ealing Studios, crying out loud. That's where they filmed all the James Bond, loads of different films there. It's quite a small studios actually, but they filmed so many things up there. It's actually incredible. I think Edgar Wright's done all his films there. It's just where you want to be, really. So I didn't realise that the Met Film School is actually, unlike the other universities, is actually a private sort of institution. So it's quite expensive. Student finance, I think, was only going to cover sort of half of the cost per year, not including my rent. So financially, that was looking pretty like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna have to get a job now to start saving up, and as well as getting a job up there, which it's London. Getting a job is really hard, especially sort of the part-time sector, which is what I'd be going for. It's just like, and I really didn't want to be working in a kitchen or something like that again, or in a shop, especially in London, which that was quite a daunting thought. So, but the course I applied for out there was film production, and it was ridiculously expensive. But it's one of the best film academies in the world. So, I was then made aware that they had, I think, started about 3 or 4 years ago. They started something called Screen Skills, which had 2 courses on it: film production and then like film business or something like that. I guess that's if you want to be in the business of film, like producer, like executive or something like that, marketing, which I'm not really interested in. There's a lot of money in it, but it's not, I have to be creating essentially. So and that was gonna I looked into the Screen Skills film production, and that was gonna be like the same price as a normal degree per year. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll apply for that. So I applied for that, got the interview, got a place, doing the 3rd year out there. Even applied for housing out there, accommodation. So it was all sorted. And I did one of the open days. And bearing in mind this was virtual, so there was no visiting, which I would have benefited from, to be honest. I've never been there before. I'd been to the area, I've been outside it, but you can't just walk in. Security's pretty tight. And it just seemed quite commercial. It was more sort of, I mean, yeah, you don't get me wrong, there's film making involved, but they were saying like, oh, so we're going to have you doing placements for like Google and Facebook. And I was kind of like, okay, well, I see what's happening here. This is sort of media and film, not film, if you know what I mean. So I was kind of disappointed by that, but I thought, you know, it's London. You know, I need to get my foot in the door up here. I don't know, for some reason, at the time, I had this sort of tunnel vision that like I had to go to London. Like this year, I had to go there. Like that was it. That was gonna make or break me as a filmmaker. It's like, okay, this is now or never. Um, but yeah, so you know, I ended up not going essentially for a number of reasons. I'm gonna get onto a few of them in a minute, but I'm now. I had to do all this quite late in the game, but so I'm now studying at Plymouth, which is what was gonna do anyway. So it's just I completely wasted, you know, 5 6 months applying around different unis. It's yeah. I get trouble is with me. I get so fixated on things. Like I had to go to London. I have to go. I've been there. I've visited my brother. It's like it's amazing. I've got to go there. It's like the be all and end all, and it's not. You know, me being a filmmaker. That is what decides. That is me. It's not my location. It's not my circumstance. It's me. Am I? If I believe I'm a filmmaker, then I am a filmmaker. There's no simpler term for that. It's you know, I'd like to go to film school. I'd really like to. I'd like to do a master's and do it at a film school. But it's not essential because I am making films, and I really enjoy it. They're not making any money at the moment, but it's, you know, that and a number of other things. That is my sole purpose at the moment, is creating, and I was saying to a friend, I've found my niche now. I know the films I want to make. I know the things I want to say. I know who I am creatively, and that really excites me. I feel like I've found my sort of like path. You know, I know what I want to say. You know, and it's I feel like it's unique to me. It's no one else is saying or wants to say what I want to say, and they definitely don't want to say it the way I'm saying it either. So, you know, it doesn't, in the end, it doesn't matter where I go. It doesn't matter what happens to my films financially, as long as I'm saying what I want to say and how I want to say it. That is all that matters to me. And, you know, I want to put as much time and resources into that as possible. And you know, I'm lucky enough that I've kind of, not deliberately, but I've kind of surrounded myself with individuals that are all benefit, that all kind of add to what I'm doing as well. You know, I'm not the best screenwriter. I'm not the best editor. I'm not the best cinematographer. I'm not even the best director. But only I know what I'm trying to say, and and the people I've surrounded with, they're all good at those other skills, and the majority of them, they get what I'm trying to do. They get it. Sometimes I don't even have to say anything, and they just get it. You know, you know, my good friend Chris, he's all into like the look of it, the film, the camera, the lighting, the everything. He wants to shoot it. He's not really, you know, he's made his own films, but he's more of like, okay, what do you want? Okay, this is how. Okay, so this is the shot. I'm gonna perfect this shot to the best of my ability. And that's a really good person to have, because all I have to do, so when we're blocking a scene, I just have to kind of say something. It's like so brief, and he just gets it. He's like, I get it. Right, that's what the scene is. So, and you know, he's not the best cinematographer, but the fact that he gets exactly where I'm coming from is brilliant, and I highly recommend anyone who's going to take anything up like this. forget about the technology, your knowledge of the craft. Surround yourself with people who are gonna benefit the 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 idea, who are gonna benefit your voice. And as hard as this might be, get rid of everyone who's going to. I don't mean get rid of everyone else. I mean get rid of people who are gonna wear you down. They're gonna just, because there are these people who just slowly chip away at you, and they don't. They're not even. They don't even think. No, they're doing it. Sometimes they're just. They'll say something. It can be a sort of subtle hint that they don't really truly believe in what you're doing. And plenty of people don't understand it, but that's a whole other issue. No one, no one understands your own voice, but you really. So people, there are people just, and I think it comes from their own unhappiness. They're not happy with something in their life, so when they see you being fulfilled in what you're doing, they they want to bring you down to where they're at, which if you're that person, you need to talk to someone, because not only is that not benefiting the other person, because I'd say that's a form of bullying, actually, a very subtle, very psychological form of bullying, but it's also not benefiting you, because you're never going to be happy with your own sort of place where you are if you're constantly comparing yourself to someone who's succeeding, and the fact that you have to bring them down because they're succeeding is a really unhealthy mindset. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at education wise. And I've only been doing this third year for about, I think, about week 3 now. I'll admit, because I don't really know Plymouth University that well, I was very nervous to begin with. I was literally shaking on the way down there on the train. I wasn't able to drive at the moment, but I'll get onto that in a minute. Car issues. And I'm kind of glad I didn't drive, because I was very anxious on the train. The train journey to Plymouth from where I live is a pain. It's about an hour and 15 minutes, or it'd be like 40 minutes in the car. But you have to change, so I have to change station at Newton Abbot, which you'll be waiting for the changeover anywhere from 5 minutes to half an hour. It's really inconsistent. And then the train line kind of goes back on itself and splits to go to Plymouth from Newton Abbot, and I believe the reason for that is because they never built a train line over the River Dart at Dartmouth. So I think there was a law written by some like earl who was the only person who lived in Dartmouth at the time, in like the big castle. Basically wrote it into law that you're not allowed to build a train. A train line or a bridge across the River Dart. So that train line that goes through Paynton ends at Kingswear, which is the other side of the river. And I believe when the Americans came over in the Second World War, ready to help us when we invaded Normandy, which we launched most of our offence from the south and the southwest coastline. They were kind of trying to get their tanks across the River Dart. They were like, "Hey, where's the bridge? Why didn't you just build a bridge, man?" Terrible accent. Sorry for any Americans listening. We love you. And so we had to kind of there's a law, we can't build a bridge here, and so I think we had to move their tanks and stuff individually by boat, and that must have been taking forever. But anyway, so by the time I got to Plymouth, I had to find the room first. I knew what building I was in, because there's a load of different buildings. So it's amazing how like at school it's so secure, especially my school. Like there's like one way in and out. The university is literally in the middle of the city, and you can just walk in. There's no like there's no way, you don't have to prove that you're a student to just walk into a classroom. And sensitive subject this, but well, this made international news, but there was a shooting in Plymouth quite recently. Not in the sort of main city area, but in a sort of suburb, a sort of a council estate thing. And yeah, it just made me think like this is not very secure, is it? I think the only bit you have to go like prove who you like with a student card where there's barriers is to the library. But yeah, anyone could just literally walk into a class and you just say like, I mean, they take a register, but that's just a freaking lie, couldn't you? So you just it as well. I mean, yeah, it's not children there, but it's there's a lot of people. So going in there, it's already a much larger sort of campus than what I'm used to, and the course there's a lot more people. I think there's about 30 or 40 people. None of them I know, and they all know each other. So I was kind of like sat at the back I got there quite early where there's only about 20 people there to begin with, and then people started piling in, and I was sat at the back thinking I'd be sat alone, but inevitably someone had to sit next to me, and everyone was just talking to each other like, hey, how's your weekend and stuff, and I just felt so awkward because I couldn't even look at any. I was just constantly just counting how many shoes I was wearing, and it's just I can't. Why? I just get so frustrated. Why can't I just be like, hey, I'm Dom, blah blah blah. And I realised I've always put a lot of pressure on myself going into these situations, and to talk to people. So a lot of the anxiety comes from that pressure that's just over my head. Like, oh yeah, make sure you talk to someone, and that just that's just really messed with me. And so what I've done this year, I'm just saying to myself is, don't put that pressure on yourself to talk to people. Just I'm not a loner. I'm not like I'm an introvert or anything. I'm quite shy when it comes to those situations. But I'm not going to put that pressure on myself. If people want to talk to me, which inevitably a couple of people did, they some lovely guy sat next to me, said, yeah, new guy, yeah, it's friendly. We started with, and then once I'm there, I can have a good conversation. It's just getting there. It's just initiating anything. But if someone else initiates something, I could just get into it, But it's like there's a brick wall in front of me. I just like just say something, and then it's like I say one thing. It's like we're good. It's like we've known each other for years. So yeah, I'm not putting that pressure on myself, and it's sort of making me feel awkward because I feel like people are looking at me being like, oh, why isn't he talking? He's a bit weird. But really, they probably don't care. They don't care. They got their own lives. And there was a workshop we had to do with a 360 camera, and I was putting a group. I much prefer when we're put in groups to when they're like, oh, get together in groups, because I'm like, oh, I don't know anyone. I'm just gonna be one of those. Your last picked. So when they say, oh, we put you in groups, I just feel this like sigh of release of just like, oh, for God, I have to like go, hey, can I be in your group? So we're put in a group, and friendly sort of banter, making people laugh, and I didn't talk to the same group the next week. I didn't feel like I had to. I don't really know them. I'm terrible with names as well. I don't know anyone's name on the course. It's just, and they all probably live in Plymouth as well, in halls as well. So it's, they're probably going on nights out together. I live way out of town. I mean, as I said, an hour and a half on the train, 40-minute drive, way out. I couldn't, I don't think it's worth really getting that close to anyone. which is a shame. But I've got my focus, and I've got a really good group of friends where I am. They don't really live in the same town as me. Two of my friends live in the same town as me. Most people most of my friends either live in Torquay, which is basically it's like the town next to mine, or Totnes, which is another town a bit further out. And yeah, I mean, luckily I have to go through Totnes to go to Plymouth, so I can always I mean, one of my mates literally lives off the road that I drive past to go to Plymouth, so just call in there, really, couldn't I? But yeah, that's uni, and we're doing our dissertation. I'm doing another experimental film, which is kind of weird because I've kind of done that module, but I'm not going to say no to experimentation. I'm doing a dissertation, which luckily we can either do a written dissertation, which is 6,000 words, or we could do this thing called critical practice, which is where we can make a film, we make something, and then do a 2,000 word evaluation on it. So I'm doing that, obviously, and I'm doing it on surrealism in cinema. So I'm gonna make a surreal film, and I want to. So I've got an experimental film and a surrealist film as well, and I'm working on them both right now. It's very hard to separate the two. The experimental one is more in the lines of the Night film that I did, which is very inspired by sort of John Smith, sort of that black and white candid approach, making the normal seem unnormal. So it's more experimentation with, I mean, I'm doing it, I'll just say what it is. I'm exploring the sort of the contrast between urban and nature. So there's going to be, sort of static shots of cities, hustle and bustle, and then there's going to be like a soundtrack on that. It's like, like that kind of noise, and then cut it to like nature, and then quietness, and then get it. And then when it cuts, it's gonna be like 5 seconds, 5 seconds urban, 5 seconds nature, and then it's gonna go boom, 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 go good, and then eventually, I'm gonna sort of blend the two. And how I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna find sort of like abandoned buildings that have been slowly kind of taken back by nature. So it's kind of like there's these two parallel lines, and eventually they're gonna cross. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. I was gonna shoot on Super 8, but the deadline is it's coming up fast, so I'm just gonna do it myself on camera. And then the surreal one, that is gonna be mental, because I've really challenged myself here. Let me just get the I'm actually gonna read the proposal, actually, because that'll make more sense rather than me trying to explain it. I mean, they're still my words, but it's just in a more concise format. So here we go. So the intention of this project is to explore and create a surrealist piece. My films have always had surrealist, experimental aspects to them, but that has never really been at the forefront. With this piece, the idea is to fully commit to this idea as a primary focus, exploring and observing whatever directions this leads to. Though there is no solid question to be answered here, the journey and outcomes which come from it excite me. The themes I wish to delve into here are abstract, but revolve around time, dreams, origin of ideas / inspiration, and consciousness. I wish to answer these in a deep, profound, and spiritual level, but there is no guarantee of this. So, recently I've kind of, the sort of mainstay of this is like, I often wonder like where ideas come from, because creatives, you'll relate to this. When you wake up at like 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and you're sort of like in that mid sleep. You wake up, you're not really awake, you're not really dreaming, you're kind of in limbo. And you wake up and you have like Alright, this happened to me recently. I woke up and I had a song. Yeah, I write songs as well. I had a song in my head, and it was fully formed. Like, it was chords. I could hear like the guitars, the drumming pattern, everything. The lyrics. Well, not lyrics, but there was a melody. There was a guy singing over the top of it, and I was like, because I normally wake up every morning with a song like in my head. That's strange as well. But it's normally a song I've heard. Um, and and I was like, what is this? I've never heard this before. This is amazing. I'm loving this. And I've never heard it before. So it obviously came from me. I like wrote a song in my head. And it was just there. And like an idiot, I went back to sleep. And then I woke up in the morning. I couldn't even fucking remember. And the song was amazing. I can't remember what it was like now. But I remember it being amazing. I should have just like got my phone out and started recording. Just humming it out. No, not getting my guitar out obviously at that time of night. But just start humming it. And it's just... But the point is, where is that coming from? Like, is it... Like, it's because when ideas come to me, they don't come like gradually. They come fully formed. It's like it's always been in there, and it's just been like waiting for the right bit to like burst out. But it's just like, are we just constantly making ideas in like our subconscious mind? And because we're so at the front end of our consciousness, like, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, that we don't really hear that until we're in that state. I think that's probably what it is. And when we dream, we're going into there. We're going into that part of our consciousness. And when we meditate, we're going into that part of our consciousness, the deeper, vaster sort of pool of consciousness, rather than the sort of surface level, I've got to take the bins out consciousness, which is the very sort of animalistic side of consciousness. It's like we're it's like we're two beings. There's this really good book called The Demon. It's not spelt like normal demon. It's like an A in it. I can't remember exactly, but it basically says that we are actually two beings. So we have that sort of the part of our brain where the living brain, like, oh, I've got to breathe, I've got to do all that, I've got, fundamental consciousness. That is one thing, but then there's something that's almost like the puppet to something behind that, and that's another entity. Well, not entity, but it's another. It's like there's two people in us, and that is the sort of voice that's directing us through life, and it's kind of that's where our true ideas come from. But we only perceive that as like a sort of spur of the moment. Oh, I've just had this idea, where actually that the you has always been thinking of doing that, but only sort of turns the tap on at very few moments. So the fact that a song is coming to fully formed, have I always been working on that song? And if so, for how long? Because I've not known much about music for very long. I've only been playing guitar for like 2 years now, and but I've been playing it enough that I kind of get music now. I can't read music, but I kind of shut up, seagull. Yeah, seaside town. That it's like and then it was done. That night it was like, oh, song's ready, dinner's ready, I'll let it out now. Oh, here you go. And then the sort of front end of my brain, I'm like, oh, I've never heard this before. Where's this coming from? Yeah, it's just... Or is it not even in us? Now, this is getting quite, spiritual, man. But what if there's kind of like an ether of ideas, like beyond the universe, beyond our sort of cognition of what we experience, and these ideas, they're always floating around, and they're kind of, every so often one kind of falls out. It works its way down through the ether, And it's kind of like one of those things where you run like coins down a thing, and they're gonna, you don't know where they're gonna end up, and they end up, and it's completely random. They could end up in anyone. So maybe that song fell out of whatever this space is. You know, I mean, who's creating that as well? That's another question. Who's creating the ideas that end up in the idea pool that end up in me? So they kind of fall out of that, and then end up in my brain fully formed. Because that's how ideas come to me. They're fully formed. They're like they're done. Like the idea about the nature versus urban. That was like, okay, I could see it like just then. It wasn't like it was a gradual process. Like, oh right, that's it. That's the idea. I don't know how other people work, but they're just like, I can't. Ideas have never come to me gradually. They've always come like, all right, this is it. I mean, obviously, when you come to make it, there's a process to it. But you're staying true to that idea. The idea is done. It's finished. You come to like make it, and circumstances arise. It's not going to end up how it was. But yeah, the thing is, I couldn't recognise it. I'm normally pretty good with songs, especially like that genre. What I was hearing, it's strange. A debate as, where did we come from? What's the origins of the universe? What's the origins of ideas? That's just as important because, to want to find answers to those bigger questions that relate to nature and the universe, they came from ideas. So ideas are the origin to everything. So, I mean, this film I'm making, I mean, it's literally, I had an idea about making a film about ideas. I mean, how, like, deep is that? I'm determined that in a minute I'm just going to leave the Matrix because, like, I don't think, like, the hard drive can, like, take me on the same level and I'm just like, boom. Yeah. So, yeah, that's that. To go to more boring things now, I mentioned about my car. Cars are so not value for money. I tell you, they're just like, what are people thinking? They're just like, everything needs fixing, like constant. It's not like a house. You buy a house and you expect it to, stay standing for what, at least a lifetime, right? It's a lifetime investment. Cars are they're just so bad. They like just, I mean, whoever thought, like, oh yeah, let's make something that drives you from A to B at like 70 miles an hour that is made of so many things that could go wrong. And they could go wrong at any time. They can go wrong while you're hurtling down the motorway, or they can go wrong on your driveway. They can go on anywhere. And you're going to basically rely on this to, like, shape your life. And people do, because most people drive. Just, I kind of like the idea of electric cars because there's less moving parts in them, less to go wrong. And, apparently, they're better for the environment, man. But then you think, well, where's electricity from? From mostly burning fossil fuels. So yeah, good one there. But yeah, it's just constant. I mean, the amount of money I've put into my car, I've spent more on the car, like, insurance, tax, fixing the bloody thing, more on it than I actually paid for the car. So, I mean, people say, oh, it's because it's second hand, it's old. It's like, well, I literally heard someone the other day bought a new van, it's only like 5 years old, and it just, because newer cars have like more electrical, things. As soon as one thing goes wrong with that, it affects the whole car. It's like the old fat TVs. One component could be replaced and it wouldn't affect the other parts of the TV. Whereas now, if a TV goes wrong, because all the parts are so small, they're all on like one chip, aren't they? One motherboard. One thing goes wrong, it affects the whole TV, and it normally works out cheaper to buy another one than to fix it. So that is kind of the attitude to consumerism, is just make things as cheap as possible so they'll buy more of it. And that's the same with cars, clearly, because they only really design cars to out to live. They don't design cars to outlive their warranty, which is only 2 years. I mean, how bad is that? You buy a car every 2 years. Even electric, I bet it's the same. It's just so unsustainable. I think cars should be banned. Well, okay, maybe not cars should be banned, but I think to have more than one car per household, that should be criminal, because that is so bad, especially on my road. My road's a bit weird. One side of the road has driveways. Luckily, we're on that side of the road. Pretty much every house has a driveway that'll fit like one or two cars on. But the other side of the road, because it kind of goes up a bank, all the other houses are higher, and most of them don't have driveways. So and a lot of them have more than one car per household, and it's just clogging up the road. And people say, "Oh, I hate your road." Yeah, it's rubbish. It's like, well, I'm sure they didn't design the road to handle this many cars back in the freaking 50s or whenever it was built. So, yeah, I think that it should be illegal to have more than one car per household. There's literally a guy over the road that like is selling cars like on the street. He doesn't have a drive or anything. I mean, and I doubt he's paying tax on them either. So that's dodgy as well. You're not allowed to keep a car on the road without being taxed. And that is just a nightmare. So I'm so glad that we've only got one drive. We've got a driveway. And we've only got one car now. So I'm now car sharing with my mum because her car was an old banger as well, and it was going to be too much to fix it at the MOT. So we're now just splitting the costs and everything, which is quite good because I don't need it all the time. I get the train to most places when I go out of the area. Mum works down the road. And, yeah. Other brothers in London. Youngest brother's at the same school that Mum's works at. So, I know, we're only a small family. But, yeah, I feel like we don't really pollute that much, really, then. And it's only a 1.3 engine, so... Yeah. So, that's the car. And then, work... I try to make films for like companies sometimes. I have done, and I just I'm really I mean I'm really bad at like the business side of it all, and so yeah, that's kind of gone. Yeah, I've had a couple of jobs from that. It's quite good money. You can charge what you want. You're your own boss. So but the kind of films I'll be making, they're not really like. As I said, they're not really like what I want to be doing, filmmaking wise. So, yeah. So I've started a job now. And it's quite good. It's a skate room, which if you don't know, is kind of like Saw, but no one dies. And yeah, it's quite an easy job. I'm only working weekends at the moment. But it's quite good pay for what the job is. It's £10 an hour, which is what I charge clients for like film photography work, which I was actually told was really cheap the other day. So some people are charging like £30 an hour. So I'm just like, oh, which makes sense because they were like, yeah, you got to cover, say you bought a camera for this. You want to make your money back on that camera. I'm just like, yeah, that's good. Good idea. I like that. So, I think the next thing I do, which I don't know, I can't see me doing something like that for a while. I'll probably charge a bit more. And so, and also, as I mentioned, I've been writing songs. I've now written... well, nearly an album's worth, really, acoustically. A couple sort of instrumental ones. And I think... because one of my friends, he's recently written his first book, which, I'm really proud of him, really. And the motivation that takes as well is just because it's yeah, you got to have... there's a lot of discipline, and he's been working as well, so... Sorry, God, that's freezing. Jeez, I'm an idiot. I've just left my tea. Oh, I hate when that happens. I leave my tea and then you drink it, and it's like, oh, because I look forward to tea so much when I'm like, oh, a lovely bit of tea, that. Yeah, I'm actually wearing my headphones, like, around my neck. Not, I don't need them, but it's making me feel more professional, I guess. You know, I'm not listening to anything. I can't hear myself through them. It's just another psychological aid, I guess. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so the fact that he wrote a book, that's kind of and he's self-publishing it. That's inspired me, music-wise, to just like, because I keep being like, why would someone give me a chance? Why won't like a band contact me? You know, I put all my stuff on Instagram. Like, surely someone's gonna come up. You know, surely like a producer's gonna be like, oh, do you want me to produce your album? And I'm just kind of at the point, hearing that he wrote a book and did it all himself. I'm like, well, why don't I just release an album and just record it? Like, I've got a decent mic here. I just record it, put it on Spotify. I think I read, you know, putting a song, singles are £10. Putting an album, it's 30. I just put it on Spotify. So I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do like an 8 to 10 song album. And the songs I've written, they don't really need to be produced. They can. I like the fact they're going to be quite stripped back, actually, because it's like, it's honest. You know, I mean, professionals who hear it, they'll think they're demos, basically, because they'll sound like a demo. There won't be any layers to it. It will literally just be me and a guitar, singing my songs. So, you know, I was thinking, like, you know, maybe, you know, renting a studio with a producer and like just doing a little bit of production, adding a few things, adding like keyboards and drums. Nothing like, they're not rock songs, but not even pop songs. I don't know what they are. They're just sort of songs that I felt that I needed to write in that moment. You know, when I write them lyrically, that again, I don't know where this comes from either. It just kind of comes out as a stream of consciousness, what I'm seeing around me, what I'm feeling. You know, I've written these songs over the last 2 years, but so I'm gonna put them in that order that I've written them in, because they kind of represent a sort of journey. So yeah, I think I need to write a couple more, but there's a couple that kind of need sort of finishing. None of them are quite that long. The longest one's probably about 4 minutes. Shortest one's about minute and a half, to be honest. Quite a sort of bite-sized song, that, actually. Quite a fun little number. But yeah, like, the fact that I've just, like, I can do that now, whereas 5 years ago, someone's, oh, you're going to be playing guitar, like, quite competently in a couple of years, but like, I wasn't even into music then. So yeah, it's strange, and, you know, kind of one of the only good things out of COVID, that was learning to play. But I'm kind of at the point now. I'm not like amazing or everything. I definitely I haven't had my 10,000 hours or whatever it is of practice that you need. But you know, I'm a decent songwriter. I'm a decent singer. You know, I you know, and that's not just my own opinion, but my sort of close circle of and some musicians locally have said that's pretty good. And I think, you know, starting a band, that's a bit, you know, it's a bit much at the moment, and it's kind of, the songs are quite personal to me, so trying to like explain and like compose a band to kind of fit the song with it's not like filmmaking at the moment. I don't think it's quite I feel like it's going to be quite a personal thing to me at the moment, but I'd like to release. So yeah, I think I'm just going to release them and see what happens, you know. But as I was saying, I feel like I've explored every avenue of guitaring. I've kind of at the point where I can't really learn anything else. I kind of know the fundamentals. I can do all the bar. I can't solo, but I'm a good, like, you know, I can play it, and I can form a song. I can get like the right chords together, but I kind of feel like I've explored every avenue of it. So I want to learn something else. So I was kind of like, should I buy a piano? I used to do a bit of keyboard. I sold that. It was not a very good one. But this week actually, because my brother doesn't live here anymore, but he's a drummer. He's left his drum kit down here. He's got one up there now, but he's left the one here. And I've always been shit at drums. I've just never got it. It's so weird. I love drums. I mean, I respect it so much, and it's in my blood. My granddad, he's a lifelong jazz drummer. My dad was in the army, and he used to do the drums, and he did the Edinburgh Tattoo one year actually. I think it's like one of the early 2000s or the 90s or something like that. Well, it must have been the 90s actually, because before I was born. And he's actually on the front cover of it, and the Queen was there and everything, so that's quite cool. So it's in my blood, and obviously my brother does it now. But for some reason, I've just never had that. I've just never had it. I've tried playing his kit, and I just don't get it. You got like doing something different with each limb, and also keeping rhythm. So I thought, I'll give it a go. So Monday I went and had a go. Oh, just shit. So I was listening to a song with my headphones. I can hear myself drumming over the music. I just wasn't getting it. Next day, so Tuesday, went down there, started doing it, and I just had it. Like quite a simple song, like one, 4 bars. You do the on the foot and the snare, and then you keep in time on the whatever it's called, the hi-hat. And I was just doing it. I was literally doing it. I wasn't even thinking about it, and I was just doing it. What? How? And then I've got better and better each day. I've been going back there. So what? So I've just suddenly it's like I've downloaded software into my head, like the drum software. Because just through sheer willpower. Like, I've never had a lesson, and I just had it. I mean, I'm not like brilliant, but I could do it. Like, what is that? It's just I just find it. So I'm now a drummer as well. It's just. What else do I want to do? I could just like download that as well. It's just like, what is happening? It's so strange. But yeah. So I had COVID. So changing the mood. Yeah, I went to a Boardmasters Festival. Went to see I only wanted to see one band. I wanted to see Blossoms, which are from Stockport. Very good. They were brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Me and my brother loved it. In fact, they were so good they gave me COVID because I tested positive and it was shit. It was pretty rough. And and I had it on my birthday as well, which was even more annoying. I had all these plans, and coming out of the 10 days, the week after, I was planning all these things like, yeah, we'll celebrate my birthday this week, and like, I was gonna go out every day. And I went out the first day after I was allowed out, because I recovered from the symptoms pretty early on. I only had symptoms for about 3 days, but they were pretty bad. So the rest of the week I was pretty bored, to be honest. To the point where I normally like to go out every day, and I normally have to go out every day, walk the dog and stuff. But I normally like to leave the house at least once a day, just for my own sort of mind. And I was kind of getting to that point where I was getting a bit too comfortable in the house, where I was kind of thinking, don't really want to leave. But by the time my isolation ended, I was like, yeah, I'm going out. And I had all these plans that week. So I went to town the first day, and I started feeling really, really bad, like mentally, like really, really anxious. And I was like, this is strange. And that night I had a panic attack for like the first time in like a couple of years. It was just like, it was like it just, I wasn't ready to go out. I just was not ready. I don't know if it was a combination of having COVID, which is, it can be quite traumatizing. It's like trauma to your body and your mind, and then the mixture of that and being forced within your house, so you're not really you're in your own bubble. And as soon as you're going out, like simple stuff like the shops, they were just tearing me apart really, and so I had to just say to my friends like, I'm not in a good shape to go out. Um, yeah, and then I basically isolated for that week as well, like self, and because I just couldn't face going out, like panic attacks for like 4 5 nights in a row. It always happens at night for me for some reason when I'm just trying to go to sleep. It's strange, and you kind of anyone who's had a panic attack will know it, but you kind of feel it coming, and then the more you feel it coming, you try to stop it. You do everything in your kind of power to stop it, but that's just making you panic even more. So it's just a lethal cycle. So, but no, I seem to be over that now. But I wanted to kind of talk about relationships, and I've mentioned my friends, but sort of romantically. Um, I can't remember whether I mentioned anything on my previous podcast. It was a year ago, so I'll have to listen to it. But no, I was in a relationship for 3 years, and that ended pretty much as soon as actually, sort of first term into uni, literally just before COVID hit, and yeah, I was in a really, I kind of, you know, I feel like I always need like a female sort of like a female in my life, and no, not even romantically, but just like just like just like a female. It's a different kind of friendship slash relationship to your male friends, who are all great, but I think personally it's because obviously single. I've got a single parent, got a mum, and I think it probably comes from that. But I've always kind of benefited from female, sort of women in my life, basically, more than men. I mean it's a different thing, but so sort of coming out of a relationship, it was quite hard, and I found myself trying to fill that void of female companionship pretty quickly. Um, when I started uni, it was quite. I mean, part of not the main reason, but part of the reason why. I mean, the 3 year relationship I was in, it wasn't that conventional, really. On the surface, it might have looked it, but it wasn't. But I enjoyed it. I really I did truly. It was the first time I really felt love in that way for someone, and I'm trying. I've been trying to kind of replicate that ever since, and I still haven't quite got to that point yet where I feel the same way. I've got pretty close, but yeah, that for me was pure happiness. That was, um, but yeah, no, she who I was with, she had quite severe learning difficulties. So I was very much sort of like in a caring place, so which I always I'm quite picky with women. I'm not one of these lads that kind of go out and like pick anyone up. I'm quite picky, and I'm quite caring. I like to be the one who's like looking after. I don't really like being looked after myself as much as I kind of I don't admit it, but I do need it now and again. But I kind of I find happiness in helping people, helping the woman in my life, more than them helping me, which is very selfless. But I'm not really taking care of myself then, am I? So being in a free relationship with someone with learning difficulties, I was very much the one making decisions about what we were doing, which we were both happy. We were like a good amount of time, but it was just very different. And yeah. I kind of reached a point where I was going one way. Like you both start pretty much well. In a good relationship, you should both start at the same place, and you want to end up progressive from that place, but together. And I kind of felt like I was kind of going up. I was going one way, and I was going very much that way, and she was still sort of at square one, still at the same place. So I kind of slowly overtaken her, and I could just it just wasn't gonna work anymore because of that. But I was also very confused at the time because I'd just started uni, and I'd kind of as I said, I'm quite picky with women, but I kind of gained an attraction for someone on my course. I'll never cheat on who I'm with. The 2 years of the foundation course, and I thought we'd carry on being friends afterwards, which I'm friends with people I went to college. But it turns out, she was not again one of those people that I kind of realize now was kind of pushing me down, really. Not kind of subtly trying to drive me away from my own friends. Quite manipulative. All stuff that I couldn't see in the moment. But looking back now, some of the stuff, it's kind of like, well, I was kind of being used. So, so I've now just completely removed her from my life, which it's a shame, but yeah, it's just one of those things. But I met someone else. So this is while I was still at uni during a film production during December last year, and she was helping out with the camera or sound and stuff, I think. I didn't really speak to her. She was quite quiet. Quite similar to my ex, actually. So that's probably that's probably what was going on there. I didn't really think of anything. I thought she was quite nice. Didn't really feel like needing to initiate anything. Till about 4 or 5 months later, I just decided to message her, see how she was, and to be honest, the conversation, we hit off pretty quickly. Not hit off. I mean, there was something, basically, and we went on a couple sort of dates, kind of thing. Holding hands. When it came to, okay, this is kind of getting serious now. What are we? That's kind of where it fell apart romantically, because not really that mature. I don't mean age. I mean she's of age, obviously, same age as me, pretty much, and 22, by the way. That's just to clarify. And then, but I don't think she'd really had a relationship before. Not like, I think she mentioned she'd had one in like secondary school, which so did I, and that was really nothing. It's just you just have a boyfriend or a girlfriend in secondary school just because you don't really do anything, do you? It's not love. So I was kind of like, so yeah, she's not really ready, basically. So, which is a shame again, because when I fall for people, I don't fall for many people, as I said. When I fall for someone, I fall deep, and it's just like this blind, like, oh my god, oh, this person is like just everything. It's like the best person ever. Well, I just want everything here. all of you. So when it turns out that they're not quite feeling the same way, which quite often is, especially when I fall for people that hard that early, rarely is anyone going to feel the same that early on. For most people, I imagine it's quite gradual, but for me, it's just like this dream, like, ooh, you're just like, it's like they embody everything positive for me. It's almost like they're like a goddess. It's so obsessive, not in a creepy way, but it's just like, it's like I don't want to hear about anything else. So to hear that they're not there as well is quite, yeah, it's not great. Um, so I think I've just got to learn to kind of not, yeah, not, yeah, not obviously not gonna completely close myself off to it, but I'm not gonna try not to get to that point as early on unless there are definite. I mean, communication is everything. That's. I just assume that they're the same, you know. So we're still friends though. She's great. She's great. We don't see each other that much, but it's good. I've got a female in my life, that I talk to, and that void, even though it's not romantic or sexual, it's that void is filled for the meantime, and yeah, so that's good. Um, I I would love to get with her. It's just, but no, who knows what might happen. But so I'm not like desperate for a relationship, and I'm not, and I definitely want relationships. I don't, or relationship. I don't want, for me it's either all or nothing. There's no like can't be dealing with that. It's just too much. But yeah, I've got a female in my life, so it's fine, and I don't really know why I need to have that, but again, I think it stems from, yeah, like only having my mum growing up. It's just like I need that female connection. So yeah, it's I haven't been out without that connection for quite a few years now. I've always had a female in my life to talk to or to have. So, but yeah, nothing romantically going on in my life at the moment. Um, but I'm hoping to. Um, but what might lead to that is well, as of at the moment, last night I went to my first rave. So yeah, I'm not been the biggest fan of dance culture and like go. I'm more of like a pub kind of person. But yeah, they had this DJ on. It was just, and the music was great, and I was just way into it, and I didn't have to get that pissed either, which is good. Normally, have to get a few pints down me. Um, but yeah, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and you'd connect him with people on oh, bloody dog. You're connecting with people on another level. You're not talking to them. You have no idea who they are. You're communicating through the kind of waves and the rhythm of music, and through body language, and like your movement essentially. And it's just surreal. I loved it. So yeah, I think I'm going to try and do that a bit more. Actually, not every week, but I'm gonna do that, because I just feel like it's just a great space. It's pure expressionism. It's pure emotion, and it's euphoria as well. It's just the true, truly, you just feel truly alive. You're not like a zombie on your phone all the time. You're just in a moment with people, and music connects people as well. It's just magical, isn't it? And that's what I love about music, and it's amazing that sort of music it's rhythm and chords and melodies. They when they connect and they flow, and we understand that and we resonate. We don't understand it technically. Most people don't. They can't read music. But we get it, and it's emotional. But and I see my dog sometimes when I've got music, and obviously she's just hearing a noise. There's no connection. There's no emotional resonance there. It's just the noise, and I just feel like we're the only species, aren't we, that kind of, as far as I know, we kind of get something from vibrations, pretty much. So it's yeah, I'm gonna try and go to more gigs and more sort of dance sort of places. So yeah, so that's really good. Um, I feel like that's kind of the end of that, really. I've gone through all of my. I've done notes here today, so I can't remember where I'm going with this, and I've ticked everything off. So that's pretty much it. Nothing's really come since that I want to kind of mention, and we've been going quite a while here. I don't think I'm gonna do these every week. I'm gonna do maybe, even if it's once a month. I feel like I need to leave enough time between these for stuff to happen. It might be another year, so just bear with. But if you have been listening, then thank you, and I feel like it's been good for me, and I hope this has helped other people as well, because creatives, we're all the same. We're all living in our own minds. We're all loners, and but no, I think that's a good thing. We need more of us. So, thank you. Hope you enjoyed.